भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमा श्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टिकी। ॐ अज्ञानातिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथं वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपदान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमस्तुते। तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णविष्णुभूतले प्रभुपदति प्रिय श्री गिरिराजाय स्वामिने सुवक्त्ररारास्पिहार्यं भक्तिश्चात्मदायिने। मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयति गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारिणम्। Hare Krishna. So we are reading Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, and we are on text 37. Hare Krishna. So we're starting, text 36. So we're starting a new section. So now a question is asked by Arjun. Arjuna uvacha atha kena prayuktoyam papam charati purushah anicham api varsneya baladiva niyojitaha. Arjuna said, O descendant of Vrishni, by what is one impelled to sinful acts, even unwillingly as if engaged by force? Atha, then kena, by what? Prayuktaha, impelled, ayam, one papam, since charati, purushaha, a man, anicham, without desiring. Icha means desiring, anicca means without his desiring. Api, or the Varsneya, O descendant of Vishnu, Balat, by force. So this is a very salient question. Why do we commit sinful activities? despite ourselves. A living entity, oh, all right, okay, take this. Here you be part of the living. Here, so you come in front.
Puppet. A living entity as a part and parcel of the Supreme is originally spiritual, pure, and free from all material contaminations. Therefore, by nature, he is not subject to the sins of the material world. But when he is in contact with the material nature, he acts in many sinful ways without hesitation, and sometimes even against his will. As such, Arjun's question to Krishna is very sanguine as to the perverted nature of the living entities. Although the living entity sometimes does not want to act in sin, he is still forced to act. Sinful actions are not, however, impelled by the super soul within, but are due to another cause, as the Lord explains in the next verse.
All right. And so first point, the first point is that think in first so we can pass. Yeah, so the first point is that this G, by nature, is sinless. Right? All of us. Right? But when this soul comes in contact with material nature, which consists of the three gunas, Rajas, Tamas, and Sattva. So when we come in touch with these three gunas, and it excites certain emotions, calm, krodh, lobha, moha, etc. Alright? So this Jivatma, when he places himself in such an atmosphere, he gets contaminated by these gunas. But because these disqualification, we say, right? They are superficial to the soul, therefore can be thrown out. It's not part and parcel of the soul, right? So therefore, it's like I'm wearing dirty clothes. So I can take off the dirty clothes and put on fresh clothes, right? So that's why the soul can be free from all these types of contamination. But when he's in contact with material nature, without hesitation, he commits sinful activities blindly. Is it that the super soul is telling you to do this, to do this? Remember that this Atma cannot, we already read previously, that this Atma, when he comes to material, he cannot operate by himself. The super soul has to make him operate. So just like so the entire material creation is operated by the Supreme Lord, right? The super soul of the entire creation. So our body also is part of creation. So our body is operated by the super soul. So does it mean that when we, the jiva, we commit sinful activities, is it that the super soul is making the person do some sinful activities? No. So here, sinful activities are not however impelled by the super soul within, but are due to another cause. And the Supreme Lord will explain this. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
श्रीभगवानुवाच
Kamayesha Krodha Esha
कामेश क्रोधेश
Rajoguna Samudbhava
रजोगुणसमुद्भवः
Mahashano Mahapatma
महाशनो महापाप्मा
Vidyenam Iha Varinam
विधियेनम् इह वैरिणम्
Shri Bhagwan Uvacha, the personality of Godhead said, Kamaha, lust, Esha, this, Krodha, wrath, Esha, this, Rajaguna, the mode of passion, Samudbhava, born of Maha asana, all devouring, Mahapapma, greatly sinful, Vidhi, no, Inam, this, Iha, in the material world, Varinam, greatest enemy. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is lust only, Arjuna, which is born of contact with the material mode of passion and later transformed into wrath, and which is the all devouring sinful enemy of this world.
All right, so we're going to read paragraph by paragraph.
Purport. When a living entity comes in contact with the material creation, his eternal love for Krishna is transformed into lust. In association with the mode of passion, or in other words, the sense of love of God becomes transformed into lust. As milk in contact with sour tamarind is transformed into yogurt. Then again, when lust is unsatisfied, it turns into wrath. Wrath is transformed into illusion, and illusion continues the material existence. Therefore, lust is the greatest enemy of the living entity. And it is lust only which induces the pure living entity to remain entangled in the material world. Wrath is the manifestation of the mode of ignorance. These modes exhibit themselves as wrath and other corollaries. If therefore the mode of passion, instead of being degraded into the mode of ignorance, is elevated to the mode of goodness by the prescribed method of living and acting, then one can be saved from the degradation of wrath by spiritual attachment.
So we have discussed how, first thing we discussed that the soul is pure by nature. Alright? And but the material world is impure. Kam, Krodh, Lobha, Moha, Matsarya, right? And these three inners, they incite these material qualities. So, here Prabhupada is saying that, meaning that in our original nature, we have love for Krishna, right? Original nature, we have love for Krishna. But now we turn against Krishna. And this is called kama. Lust. Kama, Esha, Krodha, Esha. And from where did it arise, this kama and Krodha? It arises from Rajoguni. This mode of passion, Rajoguni. So when living entity comes in contact with the material creation, his eternal love for Krishna is transformed. It's a transformation. Alright? Into lust. Just like friendship between two persons sometimes get transformed, right? We were good friends and suddenly we became enemies, right? Get transformed. Why? What is the cause for this? So just like milk in touch with tamarind becomes yogurt. Okay? And then this lust when it's not satisfied, I didn't get what I expected, right? I don't get what I expected. So this becomes anger. And this anger is transformed into illusion, mother. Jayatyo Vishayan Purusham Sangasteshu Prajayate. So this is text 262. 63. Yeah. Jyayatyo Vishayan Pumsam Sangasteshu Prajayate. Sangat. Alright? So therefore the Sangha is very important. Sangat Sanjayate Kama. It makes you develop karma. So even if there's no karma in your heart, Even if there is love between two people, there's love between two people. If you get in the wrong association, you start being hatred for the person. Sangha Sanjari Kama Krodho Vijayate. So from this kama, anger comes. Frustration of desires leads to anger. And when you become angry, krodha bhavati sammoha. Our text, chapter 2, text 33. Chapter 2, text 33, because in that purport, Prabhupada is quoting this verse. So, krodha bhavati sammoha, sammohat smriti vibramaha. So when we become angry, we fall in illusion. We start to protest and think, why me? Right? This illusion comes, why me? And then we forget what is to be done and what is not to be done. Smriti Brahmshat Buddhi Nasho, we lose our intelligence. Buddhi Nashat Pranashati. So in chapter 3, text 37, the purport, Srila Prabhupada is quoting text, chapter 2, text 62 and 63. Alright? To paraphrase it.
Text 37, right?
Yeah. I'm reading text 37 in the purport. Srila Prabhupada is describing in English text chapter 2, text 62 and 63. So therefore, lust is the greatest enemy of the living entity. And it is lust only which induces the pure living entity to remain entangled in the material world. So why is it that we are not able to come out of the cycle of birth and death? This is due to this karma, this strong desire for enjoyment in this material world. Like we can see how it's, the wars that's going all around us. Everybody is, like putting his flag of his military army everywhere in the sky, in the ocean, on land, right? Every border, from every border, right? You have to protect your borders everywhere, right?
Yes.
Such an intense desire for supremacy. Why are we fighting? It is to conquer, capture, and enjoy. This is called lust, right? To say, I am the greatest, right?
Yes.
I own, I am the greatest. You surrender to me, right? I'm God. I'm God, right? So this karma, very extremely strong in Kali Yuga. It's like you don't know what may happen to you tomorrow. It's like you are aram se, very innocently you're living life and you just forget the world and then you're captured. Right? So, why all this? Because of lust. So therefore, lust is the greatest enemy of the living entity, and it is lust only which induces the pure living entity to remain entangled in the material world. Wrath is the manifestation of the mode of ignorance. So karma is rajoguna and anger is tamas. Right? So when our desire becomes anger, and that's when we start fighting with all types of weapons. And we are inventing more and more sophisticated, unseen, unheard weapons out of anger. Just to kill somebody, you invent all this type of weapons. Right? This is tamas. So this is country against country, but even in one's own home, you don't know when people murder somebody by using any weapon. So this is so frightening. These modes exhibit themselves as wrath and other corollaries. So other corollaries we have already described. If therefore the mode of passion, instead of being degraded into the mode of ignorance, is elevated by spiritual attachment. So this is why that we are distributing books, we are teaching this Vedic knowledge in order to prevent this lust from degrading into anger and therefore destruction. Destruction of society and destruction of one's own self. Right? So here Prabhupada is saying that this is a prescribed method. How to elevate the soul, how to stop this anger, how to touch myself. If I'm finding I'm having too many desires, too many unnecessary desires, right? Like I have this much. Then I say, okay, let me conquer more. Then let me conquer more. Let me conquer more, right? And your life is over just in the mode of conquest, right? So the Vedic society has a time for a person's life. It has different stages. The supreme, yeah, who's reading? Who's reading?
कौन सा पढ़ना है मुझे सेकंड पैराग्राफ 37 नहीं पेंसिल है The Supreme Personality of Godhead expanded himself into many for his ever increasing spiritual bliss, and the living entities are parts and parcels of the spiritual bliss. They also have partial independence, but they misuse of their independence. When the service attitude is transformed into the propensity for sense enjoyment, they come under the sway of lust. This material creation is created by the Lord to give facility to the conditioned souls to fulfill these lustful propensities. And when completely baffled by prolonged lustful activities, the living entities begin to inquire about their real position.
Okay, so now, who are we? We are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is full of bliss. And naturally, we also are full of bliss, and that's why we are pleasure seeking. We are looking for happiness, right? But because we have an independence, a free will, everybody has got a free will and some independence. So now this independence, if it is used for sense enjoyment, so I use my independence for sense enjoyment. So what is the result? It means that I gradually start turning away from Krishna. What does that mean? Gradually I start performing activities which is adharma. Alright?
Yes.
So much the desire to enjoy comes. Right? We don't know how to slip into adharma. I don't want to give examples. I have spent many long years speaking about all this. Now I'm only doing fast because I can't do it. I have my recordings, which many examples I have given how we slip into sense enjoyment, right? But you can use your imagination, you can use your observation. So, when Krishna sees that we don't want to serve him, so what does he do? He creates this material world. He says, okay, take this for you and enjoy your senses. Right? Sometimes it happens that if you have an extended family and one couple is always fighting, then the head of the family says, okay, this is your house, go. Right? Just go. Be independent. Instead of fighting, creating trouble here, right?
Right.
This is what we do. This is exactly what Krishna did. Krishna has his own house. If you want to serve him, be part of his entourage, his company, his associates, and serve the one. Spiritual world means serving the one. Right? So this is the center, everybody serves the one. But when you say, no, I don't want to serve him, let me serve something else this one. Get out. Where do you go? In the material world. What is the material world? Is that place where whoever doesn't want to serve Krishna is where to. And then we start battling against each other, right? Because this is our attitude. Our attitude is that I don't want to serve Krishna, so whoever doesn't want to serve Krishna, we come here and we battle against one another. That's it. Now, here comes the twist. This material creation is created by the Lord to give facility to the conditions to fulfill these lustful propensities. Then what? When you're tired, right? When completely baffled by prolonged lustful activities, the living entities begin to inquire about the real position. So when you have sufficiently, we've been in so many battles, we've been conquered, we've been dominated, alright? So that soul, see that soul, there is a recording machine, alright? In that soul, there's a recording machine. So he remembers, oh, okay, yeah. So what does all of us do? We start to inquire, let me read from it. Alright? We start to inquire about our real position. And when we start this inquiry about your real position, all the drama of the material world will take a backseat. You need not be involved in all that's happening around you. Because the Supreme Lord now is putting you into His environment. Because you no longer deserve to be among those people. So it's only going to be news for you. Alright? So the more you shift, the more the material world will become news. And you won't be part of it. Yeah. Continue.
This inquiry is the beginning of the Vedanta Sutras, wherein it is said, Athato Brahma Jignasa. One should inquire into the Supreme. And the Supreme is defined in Srimad Bhagavatam as Janmadasya Yato Nyavad Itarastascha, or the origin of everything is the Supreme Brahman. Therefore, the origin of lust is also in the Supreme. If, therefore, lust is transformed into love for the Supreme or transformed into Krishna consciousness, or in other words, desiring everything for Krishna, then both lust and wrath can be spiritualized. Hanuman, the great servitor of Lord Rama, exhibited his wrath by burning the golden city of Ravan. But by doing so, he became the greatest devotee of the Lord. Here also in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord induces Arjun to engage in his wrath upon his enemies for the satisfaction of the Lord. Therefore, lust and wrath, when they are employed in Krishna consciousness, become our friends instead of our enemies.
Yeah, so since we are part of this material world, right? So we have to be some seva for Krishna. So whatever is available in this material world, what do we do with it? We use it in Krishna's service. That's all. Because you can't suddenly disappear and go to the spiritual world, right? It's a long process, right? So while we are here, everybody will say that I'm here, the spiritual world is somewhere else. Right?
Right.
So here, Krishna is showing Arjuna where you are, exactly where you are You can use this in Krishna service. Then, as I said, then the material world becomes loose for us. Right? Text 38.
धूमेनाव्रियते वह्निर् यथा दृशो मलेन च
Yeah. Hare Krishna. As fire is covered, I'll say sorry. Dhumena by smoke. Avriyate is covered. Vahina fire. Yatha just as. Adharsha mirror. Malena by dust. Ka also. Yatha just as. Albena by the womb. Avrata is covered. Garbha embryo. Tatha so. Tena by. That lust. Idham this. Avratam is covered. As fire is covered by smoke, as a mirror is covered by dust, or as the embryo is covered by the womb, the living entity is similarly covered by different degrees of this lust. There are 3 degrees of covering of the living entity by which his pure consciousness is obscured. This covering is but lust under different manifestations like smoke in the fire, dust on the mirror, and the womb about the embryo. When lust is compared to smoke, it is understood that the fire of the living spark can be a little perceived. In other words, when the living entity exhibits his Krishna consciousness slightly, he may be likened to the fire covered by smoke. Although fire is necessary where there is smoke, there is no overt manifestation of fire in early stage. This stage is like the beginning of Krishna consciousness. The dust on the mirror refers to a cleansing process of the mirror of the mind by so many spiritual methods. The best process is to chant the holy names of the Lord. The embryo covered by the womb is an analogy illustrating a helpless position, for the child in the womb is so helpless that he cannot even move. This stage of living condition can be compared to that of the trees. The trees are also living entities, but they have been put in such a condition of life by such a great exhibition of lust that they are almost void of all consciousness. The covered mirror is compared to the birds and beasts, and the smoke covered fire is compared to the human being. In the form of a human being, the living entity may revive a little Krishna consciousness, and if he makes further development, the fire of spiritual life can be kindled in the human form of life. By careful handling of the smoke in the fire, fire can be made to blaze. Therefore, the human form of life is a chance for the living entity to escape the entanglement of material existence. In the human form of life, one can conquer the enemy, lust, by cultivation of Krishna consciousness under able guidance.
So this is an analogy. You know, so
Jai Shri Krishna.
So as fire is covered by smoke, as a mirror is covered by dust, or as the embryo is covered by the womb, The living entity is similarly covered by different degrees of this lust. So, in the purport, Prabhupada is giving two types of analogies. The first one is speaking about the degree of covering. So, if there is smoke, it means that very easily we can find Krishna consciousness, right? And there is a gradation. So dust meaning that it is thicker, and the woe meaning it is thickest.
Headless.
So like trees and animals, right?
Hmm.
Like this. And then Prabhupada is speaking, a different analogy is speaking, is about the awakening of Krishna consciousness. Meaning that in the human form, when we are human beings, Krishna consciousness is visible. Why is it that we take so much trouble? Prabhupada and his followers, the missionaries, why do we take so much trouble running after people? Right? Because human beings, their spiritual consciousness is visible. Just like fire covered by smoke. Right? When we become human beings, see actually, you know the chakras in your body, right? So these chakras in human, they are actually locking the soul to the gross and subtle body. The soul is locked in the subtle body and the gross body to these chakras. They are locks. Alright? So by the yogic process, you unlock it. Alright? And when that in animals, this is permanently locked. Yeah. It's permanently locked. Yes, animals.
Mataji, the chakras you're talking about.
The chakras, yes. You can't unlock those chakras.
Animals also have chakras.
Yes. In a soul, right? A soul stuck in a body. Right? There are the trees also. The souls engage in different types of bodies. So they are locked. They're absolutely completely locked. And they have their cycle of karma. So according to karma, they're forced to be in this material world. But human beings, they can become liberated from the cycle of their karma. Those chakras are unlocked. Alright? So it is slightly, so Krishna consciousness is visible in human beings. And by the process of Chetodarpana Marjanam. So the mind is covered with so much dust. What are those dust? Right? So many types of desires. You know, every day we create a new desire. What can we do? Right? We want to create, be creative, everything, creating new menus, new fashion, new hairstyle, new perfume, new everything, right? Creative. How can we enjoy? So all this is sitting like a layer on the consciousness, right? Making us become fools. Bhagavatam described that this Atma is simply a fool. He's befooled by the material energy, and we think we are so great, we are masters of mistresses, right? Actually, we are being made a fool by material nature. Actually, don't even speak, I just look at him, he's a fool. We look at others and we say he's a fool, but we are also fools. Right?
Yes.
So here, when you practice the cleansing method, so many spiritual methods, like our method is chanting Hare Krishna, offering our food, doing seva for others. These are the spiritual practices, right? So, what does it do? It's a cleansing method. Yeah. So, when the soul yagi awakens in his Krishna consciousness, he can make further development until he becomes completely free from the cycle of birth. Therefore, the human form of life is a chance for the living entity to escape the entanglement of material existence. Right? So we are engaged, and I just describe physically how we are engaged by this system of chakras, we are locks. So that it's open, we can open it up by the spiritual methods. That's 13 line. Avrittam jnanam etena ज्ञानिनो नित्यवैरिणा कामरूपेण कौन्तेय दुष्पुरेणानलेन च
Avritam covered, Jnanam pure consciousness, Etena by this, Jnanina of the knower, Nityavarina by the eternal enemy, Kamarupena in the form of lust, Kaunteya, O son of Kunti, Dushpurena, never to be satisfied, Analena by the fire, Cha also, translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada. Thus the wise living entity's pure consciousness becomes covered by his eternal enemy in the form of lust, which is never satisfied and which burns like fire. Purport. It is said in the Manusmriti that lust cannot be satisfied by any amount of sense enjoyment, just as fire is never extinguished by a constant supply of fuel. In the material world, the center of all activities is sex, and thus this material world is called Maithunya Agara, or the shackles of sex life. In the ordinary prison house, criminals are kept within bars. Similarly, the criminals who are disobedient to the laws of the Lord are shackled by sex life. Advancement of material civilization on the basis of sense gratification means increasing the duration of the material existence of a living entity. Therefore, this lust is the symbol of ignorance by which the living entity is kept within the material world. While one enjoys sense gratification, it may be that there is some feeling of happiness, but actually that so-called feeling of happiness is the ultimate enemy of the sense enjoy.
So that's the wise living entity. We are originally wise, and now we become fools. Right? So thus the wise living entity's pure consciousness becomes covered by his eternal enemy, the whole. So what was the question asked?
That why we unwillingly also do sinful things by force.
Yes, meaning that we are wise. This is all of us. You're fine, you're wise, and then suddenly you don't know what happened. Alright? And what has hit us? It is this desire for sense enjoyment. And here Prabhupada is explaining. Now the secret is revealed. So it is said in the Manusmriti that lust cannot be satisfied by any amount of sense enjoyment, just as fire is never extinguished by a constant supply of fuel. Meaning that whatever you do to satisfy the senses will never be satisfied, just like this fire which is fueling. Right? Fuel is the sense enjoyment, and fire is the desire for sense enjoyment. Right? So it's already blazing. fire of lust is already blazing. Now we add more items of sense gratification in it. It will just blaze more. Right? The desire for sense enjoyment will blaze more by pouring in the items of sense enjoyment. So, what shape does this lust take? So, in this material world, the center of all activities is sex, meaning that man and woman they come together, all right, and they make a contract with each other, right, and then they bring children, right, and they make a contract with those children also, right. These are my children and not your children. I don't take care of somebody else's child. I take care of my own children, right? Then my house, my property, my business, everything is around this. Alright? So, this Jeev, meaning us, man or woman, whoever it may be, we get trapped in this attraction between man and woman, which expands itself into all the paraphernalia of this world. Alright? And we can't escape it. It's a shuffle. It's a shuffle. So here, the Manusmriti is saying that just like a prisoner, you have chains, right? You shuffle with chains. Here, this Jeev has invisible chains. It is the sex desire. So, because of this, we continue with hope after hope. We hope that I'll be happy with my husband, I'll be happy with my wife, I'll be happy with my children, I'll be happy with my society, my community, my clan, right? Hope after hope. So therefore this lust is a symbol of ignorance by which the living entity is kept within the material world. So when one enjoys sense gratification, it may be that there is some feeling of sense enjoyment, sense gratification, feeling happy. Yes, Anyway, for me, like I think come to India and I see all those weddings, this wedding when you become princess for one day. Right? You live in a palace for one day only, right? They will put up the entire castle, right? Observe all this. I said, oh my God, this seems to be like a fairy tale, and here we are spending I don't know how many lakh, right? It's your hard-earned money, right? You save, and then you burn everything in one day, right? This is the illusion of the material world. Isn't it? This illusion for those who are looking with eyes that are not in illusion, right? Those who are in dream world, they are working and collecting the money whole life. Isn't it? For imitation of Krishna's palace. Right? For that one day when there is going to be a man and a woman who will unite. Right? So there's happiness in it. The boy and girl for that moment they're happy. I don't know for how long they feel happy. And for how long the parents are also happy, I don't know. Right? So when one enjoys sense gratification, it may be that there is some feeling of happiness, but actually that so-called feeling of happiness is the ultimate enemy of the sense enjoyment. So actually the so-called feeling of happiness is the ultimate enemy of the sense enjoyment. Right? So I was so happily married. Right? I don't know what happened when a fire broke out in my household. Right? That's it. Indriyani manobuddhi
इन्द्रियाणि मनोबुद्धे
अस्याधिष्ठानमुच्यते
अस्याधिष्ठानमुच्यते
नित्यर्विमोहयत्येषा
विद्येर्विमोहयत्येषा
ज्ञानमावृत्य देहिनम्.
ज्ञानमावृत्य देहिनाम्.
So now Krishna is going to describe where that lust sits. This body is a machine, alright? And the karma is depositing itself in different key places. So Krishna is going to describe where. So, see, this sense enjoyment, actually one image came in my mind. It's the marriage of Devahuti and Kardama Muni. You know? So this whole dream world is going on since time immemorial, and it is happening among the Prajapatis, among the Shapta Rishis, like when we're doing the same thing, right? When we get married, like we enter into the household of the Shapta Rishis. So Devahuti and Kardama Muni, when they got married, so it was done, Devahuti was daughter of Manu, Manu's Biti, right? So she's daughter of Manu. And Kardama Muni, he is son of Brahma, alright? So this is meaning that these are not, they're not human beings, they are like devas, alright? So they live a very simple life. Devahuti was a princess, emperor, daughter of Emperor Manu, alright? And she married a brahmachari, Kapila Dev. He was doing tapasya, but he hadn't taken vow of lifelong brahmacharya. He wanted to get married, right? But he was engaged in tapasya, meaning very simple life. So meaning even after the marriage, this poor girl who comes from royal family, she was serving him as a menial servant, doing everything for him, and no shringar, right? Everything has become so dirty and not very nice. But one day, her powerful husband, extremely powerful husband, noticed that this girl, how much she has sacrificed for me. Therefore, he became very compassionate and he became inclined towards her. And then what did he do? He created one lake and said, go take bath there, the spa, right? Take bath there. Beauty parlor, everything. So she came out extremely beautiful. Then he manifested from his mind, he manifested a flying airplane, which was a city. Then he took her on a world tour, alright, honeymoon now, alright. He went on a world tour across all the universes, and they enjoyed life like anything. And they got children, alright. They gave birth to 9 children, 9 daughters, and then finally one boy. Kapila Muni, right? So Kardama Muni and Devahuti. So this is the story. And then meaning that whole dream was over. Alright? enjoy self gratification, meaning this material world is created to give us some self gratification, but it is not permanent. We will go in our, in our castle, flying in the air, across all the universe, we'll enjoy life, but one day we have to land, right? Because that castle cannot remain forever in the sky, right? So it may be there is some feeling of happiness, but actually that so-called feeling of happiness is the ultimate enemy of the sense enjoyment, right? Why? Because it comes to an end. And when it comes to an end, we feel anger. All the young women who are enjoying life, when suddenly 35, 40 hits, they find their strength diminishing, their beauty diminishing. They feel hatred, anxiety, midlife crisis. Right? Who was saying this? Oh, you think she's a young girl, how does she know? Anyway,
Actually, Mataji, she's good only.
text 40. Okay, who's reading?
Indriyani, the senses, Manah, the mind, Buddhi, the intelligence, Asya, of this lust, Adhishtam,
Vishpanam.
Adhishtanam, sitting place,
Chate.
Uchate, is called Iti,
Eteher.
Itiha. By all these, Vimohayati, bewilders, Isaha, this lust, Janma, Jnanam, knowledge, Avirtya, covering, Dehinam, of the embodied.
Now we have to listen very carefully. Where the enemy is seated is being described now.
The senses, the mind, and the intelligence are sitting places of this lust. Through them, lust covers the real knowledge of the living entity and bewilders him. The enemy has captured different strategic positions in the body of the conditioned soul, and therefore Lord Krishna is giving hints of those places, so that one who wants to conquer the enemy may know where he can be found. Mind is the center of all the activities of the senses, and thus, when we hear about sense objects, the mind, as a result,
The mind generally
becomes a reservoir of all ideas of sense gratification, and as a result, the mind and the senses become the repositors of lust. Next, the intelligence department becomes the capital of such lustful propensities. Intelligence is the immediate next door neighbor of the spirit soul. Lusty intelligence influences the spirit soul to acquire the false ego and identify itself with matter, and thus with the mind and senses. The spirit soul becomes addicted to enjoying the material senses and mistakes this as true happiness. This false identification of the spirit soul is very nicely explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam. A human being who identifies this body made of three elements with his self, who considers the byproducts of the body to be his kinsmen, who considers the land of birth worshipable and who goes to places of pilgrimage simply to take a bath rather than meet men of transcendental knowledge there is to be considered like an ass or a cow.
Okay, now, here is the body. And this body has senses. Alright? Body has senses. And mind. Body, senses, body consists of actually senses. Let's make a drawing. So, senses. Mind. Intelligence. Right? And here's the real person. This is soul. Alright? So, can I just have this? So, this is all the components of the body, right? So, lust is sitting here. Through the eyes, through the nose, through the tongue, through the skin, right? Through all the senses. And it is giving some information here. I like or I don't like. What we like, we are going to capture. Any idea that, any sensation that we like, we are going to deposit it here in the mind. So this is how the mind becomes like a repository of so many ideas, right? I like this, and then the intelligence will think, okay, how can I acquire? When lust is sitting here, let's say like children, they go to a shopping mall. What will they do? Give me this, right? So many items you're going to gather, so many items. This is the mind. As many as my eyes is seeing, that many I will gather, right? And then I'm going to use my intelligence, how I'm going to get everything. All right? And then you look at your pocket, you say, but it's not sufficient, right? Isn't it? Mama is going to say, cut down, right? Or husband will say, cut down, or whoever is in control will say, cut down. Only this many, right? This is intelligence. But this intelligence is a next door neighbor to this real self. So this intelligence creates what we call a false self. This intelligence is saying, why not? Why not? Why he has, why can't I have? What's so great about this one? What is so great about this one? Why can't I have? This is what you call your ahankar. Right? So these are the sitting places. So it has produced. So when this soul, this is a pure soul, this is a contaminated soul. So unless and until I remove this false identification, I cannot conquer all this. Right? So long as I believe everything is mine to enjoy, I can't conquer over lust. Right? It's so simple. I can't stop because this series of so here, Srila Prabhupada is saying that the spirit soul, so you see the spirit soul there, becomes addicted to enjoying the material senses. Alright, this full spirit soul there, he's become addicted to sense enjoyment. I'm just see. Who will tell us about this? If we don't study Bhagavad Gita or these Vedic literatures, if we don't study, who's our enemy? Nobody's our enemy, right? You can see ourselves with false understanding that I am not involved. The entire world is meant for me to involve. This ahankar, false ego. So this false identification of the spirit soul is described in Srimad Bhagavatam. So first thing, this jeev, he has acquired a material body, and this material body is made of 3 elements: kapha, pitta, vata. Alright? But he's thinking that this is me. This body is me. There are doshas in the body, there are elements in the body. This is mucus, fire, air. A human three dhatu, Yasyatma buddhi. So who buddhi? This Jivatma has developed who buddhi. Yasyatma buddhi hinape three dhatu. So what does he think? He considers the products of the body to be his kinsmen. Alright? Actually, this jeev who is born, he is coming through the medium of our bodies. Right? It's only medium. Because the jeev belongs to Supreme Lord. We are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Every jeev is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Right? But we give birth, then we create a whole family system, and we think this is mine. And the others are enemies. So he considered the byproducts of the body, meaning the children, to be his kinsmen. He considered the land of birth worshipable. Homa ijadi. Right? Especially previously, people so much identify with this nationalism. Yatirtha buddhi salile nakarvichit. And he goes to the place of pilgrimage simply to take a bath. Especially now, by lakh people run to go to Kumbh Mela, right? Wherever as soon as proper stars are coming, immediately the whole of India they run. Let me go and take bath in the holy places. This is Bhagavatam criticizing them, right? You say they go to take bath in the holy place, in the place of pilgrimage, and not to meet sadhus who will give them transcendental knowledge. Right? So lucky, so that's why Srila Prabhupada, wherever there are those Kumbh Mela or Ayodhya temple is being opened, everywhere Prabhupada goes running with books. Right? Bhagavad Gita. Because you've gone there anyway, you've taken so much trouble. Right? You come to take birth. Here, take knowledge. Otherwise, what are you? Go khara. You're just a cow or an ass. Go khara. Janeshvadi Yeshu Sa Eva Go Khara. Meaning that this Atma, the false ego, right? Who would be next door neighbor to this Jeev is the intelligence. But that intelligence has become too buddhi, no jnana, and therefore he acts as a cow and an ass.
By regulating. Bharata Sabha, O chief amongst the descendants of Bharat. Papanam, the great symbol of sin. Prajahi, curb. He, certainly. Enam, this. Jnana of knowledge destroys the urge for self realization and specific knowledge of the self. Jnana refers to knowledge of self as distinguished from non self, or in the other words, conscious and act accordingly.
There's too much in this. No? So, therefore, Arjun, best of the Bharatas, in the very beginning, curved this great symbol of sin lust by regulating the senses and slay this destroyer of knowledge and self-realization. Meaning that lust, destroy our jnana, our knowledge, buddhi, destroy our buddhi, and self-realization, meaning we can't understand what we are. We are not this ahankar, we are spirit soul. So here, Krishna is telling Arjuna, from the very beginning of childhood, Kaumaram Acharat Pragyo, the Vedic society was that from the age of 5, you send a child to school to learn what? He's not the body, the soul. Right? But what do we learn now? How to acquire sense gratification. Alright? So all our children Prabhupada called the schools slaughterhouses. You're slaughtering the soul. Alright? We create competition and enmity in the mind of the child. Right? So this person is growing up with the enemy of the soul. So like control of mind and senses was an essential feature of the Vedic society, of the Indians. And now you can see how it is just becoming more and more degraded. So, what is that knowledge? First knowledge. First jnana is what? Jnana the body, we are
Which is
soul.
the soul.
And what is vijnana? What is that condition? Yeah. Vijnana means that our duty is not to serve all the senses, but to serve Krishna. Vijnana. Right? So this is specific knowledge. Yeah, continue.
Lust is only the perverted reflection of the love of God, which is natural for every living entity. But if one is educated in Krishna consciousness from the very beginning, that natural love of God cannot deteriorate into lust. When love of God deteriorates into lust, it is very difficult to return to the normal condition. Nonetheless, Krishna consciousness is so powerful that even a late beginner can become a lover of God by following the regulative principles of devotional service. So, from any stage of life or from the time of understanding its urgency, one can begin regulating the senses in Krishna consciousness, devotional service of the Lord, and turn the lust into love of Godhead, the highest perfectional stage of human life.
Yes, so lust means that I want to do everything for myself. Love meaning that I want to satisfy Krishna and therefore I dedicate each and every word, every thought, every action in Krishna's service. Plain and simple. Right? So Prabhupada is saying that if by ill luck that love becomes lust, which is very difficult to go back to normal, and that's why we are all struggling. Right? We go back and forth. Sometimes we are in Krishna consciousness, we fall out of Krishna consciousness, again we fall in lust. Right? So it's a constant tug of war between should I do for myself or should I do for Krishna. So Prabhupada is saying that to come back to that natural love of Godhead is it is difficult. It is very difficult to return. Right? Everybody knows this. Very difficult. But Prabhupada is saying that we can still be hopeful. If you follow the process, so see, we are having all these classes, we have online videos, or we have all of these here, Our message is Krishna's message. Practice the process and come back to normal condition. Our normal condition is to love Krishna and to do things for him rather than do for ourselves. Because here's your bucket of self-gratification, right? And you got the entire kinsmen around you with their bucket of self-gratification. Will you ever be happy? Is it possible?
No.
Right? So, when love of God deteriorates into lust, it is very difficult to return to the normal condition. Nonetheless, Krishna consciousness is so powerful, we must chant 16 rounds. This is a dosage. Alright? The medicine. We must chant 16 rounds. And we must offer our food, we must attend satsanga, we must listen to the classes, we must do some seva for Krishna in whatever way we are able to. So Prabhupada is saying that from any stage of life or from the time of understanding its urgency. So I hope that we come out from this session, we have understood its urgency. Right? Or if you're not convinced, I don't know, maybe later, maybe next life, have still time, right? So as soon as it strikes you that this is urgent for us to,
Come back.
we have to transform, retransform, right? This lust into love. Because love has got transformed into lust. Now we want to undo the process. Living right now. So this is what Prabhupada is saying. Even a late beginner can become a lover of God by following the relative principles of devotional service. So from any stage of life, or from the time of understanding its urgency, one can begin what? Regulating the senses. So how does it all start? It starts by regulating the senses. Right? Instead of watching movies, right? I say no movie watching on TV. I remember this one man who told me how somehow he got addicted to smoking. I was like complaining or whatever. He told me he became addicted to smoking, and then one day he decided he would not smoke anymore and he never smoked again. Right? So if today I decide, whatever I put in my mouth has to be prashadam, right? I take this determination and regulating the senses. If I decide today I'm going to chant Hare Krishna, even if I start with one round and I put my goal, I'm going to reach 16 rounds. Verse 23. I have to complete this finish. Indriyani paranyahu. Indriyani paranyahu. Buddhirya paramanaha. Buddhirya paramanaha. Manasastu parabuddhir. Manasastu parabuddhir. Yo buddhe parakasti saha. Yo buddhe parakasti saha. After that, is okay?
Indrani senses, Parani superior. Ahuh are said. Indriya more than the senses. Param superior. Manah the mind. Manasah more than the mind. Tu also. Para superior. Buddhiha intelligence. Yah who. Buddheha more than the intelligence. Paratah superior. Tu but. Sah he.
Alright, now this is secret knowledge. Bhagavad Gita is secret knowledge, it's Rahasya. We are ourselves sitting with all these components in our body, we don't even know what they are. Right? Now Krishna is going to describe a gradation of these different components in the body. So,
The working senses are superior to dull matter. Mind is higher than the senses. Intelligence is still higher than the mind, and he, the soul, is even higher than the intelligence. Purport. The senses. Yeah.
you can see on the board.
Yeah.
Alright? That's why I put it one after the other. Alright? So the senses want to enjoy the sense objects. Alright? So this is dull matter. But higher than the senses is what? The mind. Higher than the mind is intelligence. Higher than intelligence is the soul. But in between is that false. Right? So now Krishna is giving us the method by which we can get back our original self. So intelligence is the buddhi or the vivek? Yeah, intelligence is buddhi and power discrimination also. Yeah. Yes. It is good. Yes. It has different functions. Right? Intelligence means a different function. Now we are analyzing. This is an analytical study of the components of the subtle body, gross body and subtle bodies. An analytical description here, right? Buddhi finally means, what do you want? It's buddhi. It's simple. What do you want? Let's read this.
The senses are different outlets for the activities of lust. Lust is reserved within the body, but it is given vent through the senses. Therefore, the senses are superior to the body as a whole. These outlets are not in use when there is superior consciousness or Krishna consciousness. In Krishna consciousness, the soul makes direct connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the hierarchy of bodily functions, as described here, ultimately ends in the Supreme Soul. Bodily action means the functions of the senses, and stopping the senses means stopping all bodily actions. But since the mind is active, then even though the body may be silent and at rest, the mind will act. as it does during dreaming. But above the mind is the determination of the intelligence, and above the intelligence is the soul proper. If therefore the soul is directly engaged with the Supreme, naturally all other subordinates, namely the intelligence, mind, and senses, will automatically engaged. In the Katha Upanishad, there is similar passage in which it is said that the objects of sense gratification are superior to the senses and mind is superior to the sense objects. If therefore the mind is directly engaged in the service of the Lord constantly, then there is no chance that the senses will become engaged in other ways. This mental attitude has already been explained. Param drishtva nivartet. If the mind is engaged in transcendental service of the Lord, there is no chance of being engaged in the lower propensities. In the Katha Upanishad, the soul has been described as Mahan, the great. Therefore, the soul is above all, namely, the sense objects, the senses, the mind, and the intelligence. Therefore, directly understanding the constitutional position of the soul is solution of the whole problem. With intelligence, one has to seek out the constitutional position of the soul and then engage the mind always in Krishna consciousness. That solves the whole problem. A neophyte spiritualist is generally advised to keep aloof from the objects of the senses. But aside from that, one has to strengthen the mind by use of intelligence. If by intelligence one engages one's mind in Krishna consciousness, by complete surrender unto Supreme Personality of Godhead, then automatically the mind becomes stronger, and even though the senses are very strong, like serpents, they will be no more effective than the serpents with broken fangs. But even though the soul is the master of intelligence and mind, and the senses also, still, unless it is strengthened by association with Krishna in Krishna consciousness, there is every chance of falling down due to agitated mind.
Alright, so here we are, so the whole science, transforming lust back to love. So first point that Krishna is making is that the body itself is lust. Alright? The body itself stored, Prabhupada is saying that the lust is reserved within the body. Alright? It is made of lust. It exists, the material body exists for sense enjoyment. And then it comes out through our ears, our eyes, our tongue, our nose, our skin, right? And then we walk with our legs to go and grasp things with our hands, right? Speak about it with our voice, right? All the senses, it's meant for sense gratification, right? This is the sad story of wearing a material body, right? And it is made of lust, and then it comes out to all the senses. Then Prabhupada is saying that because so body is matter, it's dull matter. It's made of three dhatu, right? Kapha, Vata, Pitta. Three dhatu is what the body is made of, right? But the senses can use those desires which is seated in the body. So therefore, the lust is in the body, But unless it comes out to the senses, there's no enjoyment. Right? It has to come out to like seeing an object, right? So the senses are like enjoying an object, right? So meaning that the senses are higher than the body itself, which is made of three dhatu. But these outlets, meaning our tongue, eyes, ears, etc., they are not in use when we are in Krishna consciousness. Right? For example, the deities, like it is recommended for every household to have deities at home. Why? So that you can
Engage.
Yes, your eyes. You beautify them and you keep on looking at them. Right? All items of sense gratification, flowers, jewelry, clothes, everything you want to use in Krishna's service, right? So that controls the senses. So the first point, alright? So the enemy is being attacked at the first gate, meaning the senses. Right? So you have deities, you offer the food, so you have to eat your shaman. Right? Second, in Krishna consciousness, the soul makes direct connection with the Supreme Lord, and therefore the hierarchy of bodily functions as described here ultimately ends in the Supreme Lord. I have just described this, how you are doing it. So if you make Krishna the center of your sense gratification, right? So meaning your senses will keep quiet. Now comes the next thing. So bodily action means the function of the senses, and stopping the senses means stopping all bodily action. But since the mind is active, okay, here I am, the deity is in front of me, my mind is not there. I'm doing a puja, my mind is not there. Right? I'm chanting, my mind is not there. The mind is active, right? But since the mind is active, then even though the body may be silent or at rest, the mind will keep on poking, right? I want this, and he said that, she said that happened, this happened. Dreaming, what is it that I want in life? I am bored. This is over now. What is the next object of happiness, right? Going mind, ghosts. The Acharyas has described this mind is like a ghost. You get possessed by a witch, which is haunting you. Give me. God, and children always give me, anytime, give me. But above the mind is the determination of the intelligence, alright? So this intelligence has to be fortified. Who would leave? Alright? If you just leave the intelligence by itself as a function of the subtle body, that intelligence will cause havoc. It will take your car and crush it. So therefore that intelligence has to be connected with Krishna. Right? This is exactly what Arjuna is doing right now. Arjuna was ready to turn around and run away from the battlefield. Right? Then he turned towards Krishna, tell me what to do. Tell me what to do. So, and he said, I'm confused. My intelligence is over, I'm totally confused. Tell me what to do. So Arjuna, meaning if we turn our intelligence towards Krishna, then Krishna will give instruction in our ears. to our heart, right? So, if the mind is directly engaged in the service of the Lord constantly, there is no chance that the senses will become engaged in other ways. So our mind must be engaged in Krishna consciousness. How? By engaging the senses, and we make the mind become strong through our intelligence. We have to tell the mind, keep quiet, you naughty child. Alright? We have to tell the mind. And so meaning higher the mind is intelligence, so we grab hold of the mind through our intelligence. And how we are going to get the intelligence? You have to run to satsanga. If you come in company of a satsanga, a sat meaning that which is illusory, that which will give you ideas that yes, the material world is permanent and you can make it permanent, happy place here. And here are the ways by which you can become happy in this world. They will keep on pouring in ideas. This is called a satsanga. Therefore, you have to be in satsanga. Then tell you, okay, sense gratification, fine, like Devahuti Kardama Muni, right? They had their time of sense gratification, but then bus, we have to learn, right? We have to fall back to reality. That was the reality your body will die. Right? Your 30s will very soon become 40s, your 20s become 50s, right? And no more beauty. You say, how do I keep my husband attracted to me? Right? This is the bare reality of this material world. Right? So here Prabhupada is saying that if we surrender completely to Krishna, if by intelligence one engages one's mind in Krishna consciousness by complete surrender to the Supreme Person Godhead, then automatically the mind becomes stronger. And even though the senses are very strong like serpents, they will be no more effective than serpents with broken fangs, meaning that if your mind is weak, then your senses will capture you. So we have to make the mind become strong and say no. The mind has to know when to say yes and when to say no. Alright? If I'm hungry, I should say my mind say you're hungry. You eat. Then the mind will the commands, yes, eat. Right? But you have already eaten sufficient. You still want to push in that last rasgulla, Right? So the mind, because see, the enjoyment is not really to the senses. Enjoyment is to the mind. The senses is only an outlet, and it gives pleasure to the mind. Manorama, right? You say Manorama. Right? So if I tell somebody, right, rasgulla is salty, right? I don't know whether you've had that experience. And you thought it's salty, right? And when you put it is sweet, you become very disturbed. Your mind was expecting salty, and here's something sweet, Gujarati, chutney came on the tongue. You will scream, right? You love salt, and here comes the Gujarati chutney, right? Meaning, mind is the identifier of enjoyment. Correct? I'm giving you correct example by experience. Yeah, so if the mind is very strong, even if the senses are demanding, give me, but they will never be able to attack you. and make you fall. But even though the soul is a master, just see, soul is higher than intelligence, higher than mind, and higher than senses also. Still, unless it is strengthened by satsanga, in Krishna consciousness, there is what? Every chance of falling down due to the agitated mind. This is how good boys, good girls become spoiled and fall down in sense gratification because they spoiled all the chances for liberation. Now we can ask this question. This is it. The world is meant for enjoyment. So what's the big deal? What's the big deal? Let us enjoy. So the sadhus are saying, the seers of truth are saying, if you will give in to sense gratification, you will remain always in the chakra of birth and death. There will be no liberation. Right? One time you are going to be Raja, another time you are going to be Praja. Right? So it's not a nice situation, it lasts. Evam buddhi param buddha samsthabhyat atmadhammatmana jahi shatrum mahabaho
Shatru Mahabhavu
kamarupam durasadam
Kamarupam Durasadam. Anybody wants to read? Because otherwise we've read otherwise.
last one.
You want to read? I don't know. I have read once. Okay, can take.
So
Yeah, take.
I read, where do I read?
Evam, thus. Take it.
Evam, thus, buddhi to intelligence, param superior, buddhva knowing, samastbhya by steadying, atmanam the mind, atmana by deliberate intelligence, jahi conquer, satram the enemy, Mahabhav, O mighty armed one, Kamrupam in the form of lust, Durasadam formidable. Thus, knowing oneself to be transcendental to the material senses, mind and intelligence, O mighty armed Arjun, one should steady the mind by deliberate spiritual intelligence, Krishna consciousness, and thus by spiritual strength conquer this insatiable enemy known as lust. Purport. This third chapter of Bhagavad Gita is conclusively directive to Krishna consciousness. By knowing oneself as the eternal servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, without considering impersonal voidness the ultimate end. In the material existence of life, one is certainly influenced by propensities for lust and desire, for dominating the resources of material nature. Desire for overlording and for sense gratification is the greatest enemy of the conditioned soul. But by the strength of Krishna consciousness, one can control the material senses, the mind and the intelligence. One may not give up work and prescribed duties all of a sudden, but by gradually developing Krishna consciousness, one can be situated in a transcendental position without being influenced by the material senses and the mind. By steady intelligence directed towards one pure identity. This is the sum total of this chapter. In the immature stage of material existence, philosophical speculations and artificial attempts to control the senses by the so called practice of yogic postures can never help a man towards spiritual life. He must be trained in Krishna consciousness by higher intelligence.
It's very clear, thus
Yeah.
knowing oneself to be transcendental the material. So here we are. So that's why the soul is completely separate from the body, both gross and subtle. So knowing that each one of us, we are transcendental to the material senses, mind and intelligence. Oh mighty Arjuna, meaning if you want to surpass the cycle of birth and death, you have to be mighty armed. You have to be a hero, heroine. Only heroes and heroines can overcome the cycle of birth and death. Those who are weak-hearted, weak mind, they cannot. They give in to sense gratification. Right?
Yes.
So it requires a lot of spiritual strength. Bala. Balaram. So here, Krishna is saying, oh mighty Arjuna, Mahabaho, one should steady the mind by deliberate spiritual intelligence. Meaning, I have to sit and think. I cannot be like a foolish child, right? Or foolish women, right? Women usually they don't stop and think, right? But here is a group of intelligent women, otherwise we won't be here, right? We shouldn't just carry around, this tag, foolish women, right?
Yeah.
Be intelligent women, because your soul. Your intelligence is not this intelligence of IQ. This is your spiritual intelligence, this is your original intelligence. When this body is fabricated, Krishna allows one window. That one window is called intelligence. For you to choose what is good for your soul.
Will it be fabricated as in? Fabricated as in when the body is made?
Yes, created. Yes. Yeah, when the body is made, like, yeah, see, yes, when the body is fabricated means from the beginning. Then it keeps on duplicating, right? But in the beginning, when the body is made, right? Your body has been made unique for you, right? From the day you desire to turn against Krishna, immediately your body is fabricated. Each one of us.
So fabricated means conditioned?
No, created, constructed, built. The body is built according to desire, what we want. If we look at ourselves, we can know what we are. This distorted soul, image of the soul is visible through the gross body. When you observe yourself, this is called deliberate intelligence, right? So that's why we are hearing all this Krishna speaking very strongly. Prabhupada also is elaborating and giving us hope and then showing us the pitfalls, right? Prabhupada is very clear. He's saying, unless the soul is strengthened by association with Krishna in Krishna consciousness, there is every chance of falling down due to the agitated mind. So that Jeev cannot relax the effort to be vigilant when it comes to treading the path of Krishna consciousness. Because this mind, this senses, this buddhi, any time can capture us. Prabhupada somewhere said we are already lured by this material world. It's very easy task to again be lured back. And you're trying to come out, but to be lured back is very easy task. Every chance of falling down. So therefore, Sangha is very important. Like here Prabhupada is saying, so Krishna is saying, one should steady the mind, meaning that the mind is chanchal, right? Literally, chanchal, right? So we have to steady the mind. How? With deliberate spiritual intelligence, not our material intelligence, which is like analyzing is this good or not good, should I accept, should I not accept, right? All the, when you go to work, that's how your mind intelligence is trained all on you to how work and cooperate, right? Train, use your intelligence. What it means an intelligent man or woman, somebody who knows how to get the business. Right? How you are able to capture the mind of the innocent people. This is the work of Kovacs, right? We're not talking about that intelligence. We're speaking of spiritual intelligence. Alright? And that spiritual intelligence is given when the soul associates with Krishna. And thus, by spiritual strength, conquer this insatiable enemy known as lust. Right? So, Prabhupada has given in the purport that what we have already discussed, that the body as soon as you are born, right? So it's that Atma that has again taken a new body because the body has become old. The previous body gradually across your 40, 50, 60, 70 it becomes old. So the soul still has millions of desires. Remember the basket? Right? There are millions of desires still sitting, waiting to be hatched, right? So what does he do? He waits for the next body. Right? So he grows the next body and he's ready to hatch his desires. And what are his desires? Sense enjoyment and dominating others. So in this world, there are two things only. One group of people are thinking how they can become superpower, right? They can dominate you, capture everything that you have, make you do what they want. This is a superpower. And then come the others like Indians, they like to enjoy life. All the goodies are actually in India. That's why they become prey to those who have power. Right? You just walk in India. Now it's big shabby. But through all this shabbiness, my God, the objects of sense gratification are unlimited. Unlimited. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Anything. That's why it became Sone Ka Chidiya, right? So these are the dangers of this material world. Desire for self gratification, they will produce all sense objects. And then come the other party that comes to loot. Desire for overloading and for self gratification, the greatest enemy of the conditioned soul. So it doesn't matter who you are, east or west. Right? Right? So desire for overloading and for self gratification, the greatest enemy of the conditioned soul. But good luck for India that this knowledge is found here. Right? Isn't it? So the knowledge is found here. And actually, because of the dharma of the people, that's why they were able to enjoy the goodies of this country. The more Indians become sinful, the less they'll be able to enjoy. Right? Desire for overloading and personal gratification, the greatest enemy of the conditioned soul. But by the strength, okay, please don't forget this. We have to be strong souls in female bodies. Alright? By the strength of Krishna consciousness, one can control the material senses, the mind and the intelligence. Now, one may not give up work and prescribed duties all of a sudden. Okay, now you walk out of the room immediately to give up everything. Yeah. But by gradually developing Krishna consciousness. What does that mean? Gradually developing Krishna consciousness. What is the first step?
I'm not the soul, I'm not the body, I'm the soul.
And you dedicate everything you do to Krishna.
Yes.
Surrender to God.
The first, here Prabhupada says that whole problem is solved if only I accept that Krishna is my Lord and Master.
Lord and Master.
Only thing I have to do, Krishna is my Lord and Master. Then gradually we can give up the self-centeredness and we move towards making Krishna the center of life. But by gradually developing Krishna consciousness, one can be situated in a transcendental position without being influenced by the material senses in the mind, by steady intelligence directed towards one's pure identity. Alright? This is the sum total of this chapter. In the immature stage of material existence, philosophical speculations and artificial attempts to control the senses by so-called practice of yogic postures can never help a man towards spiritual life. He must be trained in Krishna consciousness by higher intelligence. So what happened is that some people, okay, they're being bashed this way, that way, so say, okay, let me read Bhagavad Gita. In India, everybody likes to read Bhagavad Gita, right? Are they serious? Are they serious about it? No, at all. So from time to time, they're going to join one society, one reading group here and there, right? Are they serious? Time pass, right? So here, Prabhupada is saying, immature, so okay, I have understood I'm in the wrong place. So I will do, okay, let me join this Jnani group, this group, that group. And then I say, let me do pranayama, right? Yogic, all yoga. Remember I spoke about how the soul is locked. Right? The soul is locked into the chakras, the chakras are the tala, right? Locking, so now you heard about it. Oh, how can I unlock it? Yogic postures, can I unlock? Once upon a time in Satyuga, yogic postures, because the Atma has become sufficiently purified and has understood he has no place in this material world, through yogic postures, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, this yogi could actually unlock those chakras by himself, by his own effort, and he could come out. Alright? But here Prabhupada is saying we cannot do it. Alright? Just imagine if that was the only method, what will be our situation? We can't even sit cross-legged, see all of us are sitting on chairs. Right? Because for my whole life I have suffered cross-legged, that's my best posture. And now I can't sit and I'm very miserable about it. Very sorry I can't sit. This is a posture which is very conducive to receive knowledge. Right? best of all postures. So what does it mean that now in this age, I can't sit down, so does it mean that, oh, Krishna will keep me here? No. So Prabhupada is saying that we must be trained in Krishna consciousness by higher intelligence. For now, just these empty rituals that we do, right? These offering, some gift to the Supreme Lord, bribing here, bribing there, in this hundi, in that hundi, this power, that power, this yagya, that yagya, right? Or going and joining all these societies, right? Do you think you will be free from the cycle of birth and death? Higher intelligence. So this is a very deep science, extremely deep science and practice. It has to be learned systematically, and we need to be guided how to do it, and we must be connected with Krishna. Right? If we have completed this chapter 3 and we have understood the urgency of practicing Krishna consciousness, our spiritual life can start. Alright. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. I spoke a lot and I didn't allow you to speak because
But very deeply.
We would prefer that these sessions would never end. It would just go on, and we could come to you every day.
I'm having classes every day. I'm having different topics. I'm reading for my own self, my own knowledge. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. So we are doing the chapter 3.
3 is over today.
3 is over. So now we start with chapter. Can you tell me